All right. So I want to welcome you to a special podcast master class. And I'm going to be actually addressing two questions that I received from registrants that I felt like there were some really, really good questions. And so we're going to be talking about how to turn your podcast into a streamlined money making machine. Okay. Streamline money making machine. All right. So welcome to the session. Um, my name is Aldreama Harper. let's start there. Let me introduce myself. So my name is Aldreama Harper. I am a podcast launch strategist and systems and efficiency architect. And so I am also the host of the Organizedpreneur podcast. And so that's where I help female entrepreneurs and brave males too. So men can come too. But I help female entrepreneurs get organized, get heard, and get leads. And this is by way of my signature program that's called Launch, Host, and Grow Methodology. Okay. And so today is going to be really good because I feel like I'm going to be having a little coffee chat. And so I'll be your coach today, and this is going to be like a little coffee chat, okay? So um because I'm going to be just answering a question instead of having a totally prepared presentation. Just going to be answering a couple of questions that came in from two registrants. Now, they may or may not be here. Maybe they're going to be coming in shortly, and I'll check the chat also. But it's again, it's going to feel like having coffee with a coach. Okay. And I'm one who understands both your business and real life. Okay, how about that? And so we're going to be talking about, how to how to turn your podcast into a streamlined money making machine. But this was inspired by two questions that I got. And I'll get to the questions here shortly. And so when you're building a podcast, especially while you're running a business or raising a baby, that was one of the questions or one of the questions that was submitted was by someone who said, I'm raising a baby and I'm juggling all things, right? So when you're in that particular situation, you don't need more noise. What you're going to need is more clarity, systems, and a way to actually make your podcast work for you, right? And so if you're here today, and it's probably because either you love what you do, you've got something valuable to say, and you're tired of spinning your wheels trying to figure out how to turn your show into something sustainable, profitable, and purpose driven all at the same time. So if that's you and you're in the right place, and you're watching live or you're watching the replay, then go ahead and type in the chat, that's me, or type in a number one, for that. So when you registered for this masterclass, or when you registered for this particular masterclass, there was a question that I asked people to answer when they registered. And that is, what's your biggest question about podcasting or business right now? What's your biggest question about podcast or business right now? And two questions came through. And that I think that these questions will definitely speak for many of us. And so the first question was, how do I make money from my podcast? Legitimate question, right? Okay. And the second question was, so I have a podcast and a baby. How do I streamline my content and stay motivated? Very, very valid. So if either of those questions hits home for you, get comfortable, because we're going to unpack both of those questions. in a way that is going to help you simplify, strategize, and monetize your podcast without burning out. Okay, so let's start with the first question because that is a question that I get all the time, and everyone wants a real answer to the question, how do I make money? How do I make money from my podcast? And I get it. Like you've poured your time, your energy, and maybe in your heart into your show if you've already launched, right? And just like, look, I've poured everything into this. But then you're also watching your download numbers, your analytics, and you're thinking, okay, people are listening, but how do I turn this into income? Because there are a lot of people out there that says, okay, I want to turn my podcast into into, income, right? And there are people that they're turning their podcast into income, but not directly. Okay, let me just answer it that way, because here's the truth about it. The truth of the matter is you're not for most people, and I'm speaking for myself, and also this is my experience, okay? But you don't necessarily make money from your podcast. You make money because of your podcast. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. You don't make money from your podcast, you make money because of your podcast. Because your podcast isn't just content, it's a conversation tool. Okay? It's not the business itself, it's a bridge to your business. Every episode that you release should lead your listeners one step closer to a transformation that you offer. Whether it's coaching, whether it's a digital product, whether it's consulting, doesn't matter. Whatever that is. Okay, whatever that is. And so if this is you, and I'm, again, I want you to just really, really lean in, because every episode you release should lead your listener to one step closer, just one step closer to a transformation that you offer. Okay. I want you to think of your podcast as your most personal sales conversation without the awkward sales pitch. Okay. Because nobody likes to hear a sales pitch. So it's like it's a conversation tool. Okay. So let me break this down, and I'm going to break this down into three simple categories. All right, regarding your podcast, because I get this question all the time. So, number one, direct monetization. Okay. So that's category number one. And this is what most people think of. Even with the question, the person said, well, how do I make money? A lot of people say, well, how do I monetize? Right. And, most people think of, the sponsorships, okay, or affiliate links, and that's good, right? Or even ads. But the thing is that w- it doesn't really, until you scale your podcast, it's probably not going to work really well, okay? Because these are absolutely great um things that you can do, sponsorship, affiliate links, and ad spots, right? But not until you scale. So if you just starting out, then it's probably not going to work very well, because most of the time you need thousands of downloads per month for this to really, really work. Okay, so if you're just starting, and you're still growing, I would prefer that you focus on what's actually within your control, and that's your voice and your value. Okay? Your voice and your value. So here's what I mean by that. And that takes me to step number two, indirect monetization. This is actually my personal favorite. This is where you use your podcast to drive leads straight to your business. Right? And that's what I tell people. It's like sponsor yourself. And the way that works is that, when you share your stories or you teach your concepts or you give insights that tie directly to the transformation that you can help your clients achieve, that's when you hit the sweet spot. Right? So then what you do is you invite your listener to take a small step with you, like downloading your free guide, booking a strategy call, or maybe just getting on your email list if that's all you have. This is how you move listeners to leads and then leads to loyal clients. Now, it's going to take a while, right? But it still works. Okay. Now, the thing is, you have to have other components in place where we're not going to get directly, into that today. That'll be like another training. And I've done training on this before, but um, basically, you want to make sure that, the launch, host, and grow methodology is plugged into your ecosystem. Okay. So, but here's the thing, I don't teach my clients about sponsorships. I teach them to sponsor themselves. So I don't teach them about, going outside of themselves to get sponsors. Okay. And what that means is, so if you have a coaching program, a course, or consulting or a digital product or what have you, that's your sponsor. So your simple call to action at the end of your episode is like, hey, if you're ready to whatever the transformation is, then book a free strategy session. That's the power of strategic podcasting. And that's how I get clients. Okay. So sponsor yourself through indirect monetization. Okay. Indirect monetization. All right. And then number three, collaborative monetization. So you have direct monetization, which is good, but it works once you've scaled. You have indirect monetization, which is my personal favorite. And then you have collaborative monetization. So that's when you build partnerships, right? You collaborate with other podcasters or coaches or brands to co-host events. That's one of the things that I do. I have a networking event that I host once a month, and I have two collaborators that work with me to co-host the event. You do workshops. I do that as well. Okay, I have two other people that I do workshops with. As a matter of fact, we're doing a workshop next week. I'll put that link in the show notes. Perhaps you might want to come to that. But it's about building partnerships, not just audiences, right? And so, for example, if imagine yourself partnering with a complementary, that's the key, complementary expert to do like a mini podcast series together, right? Or you do a training together and you're both promoting it. And so now you have doubled your visibility. Okay. So again, it goes back to those three ways that you can make money. And these are three core ways to monetize. It's a growth pillar. So direct monetization, I just talked about, indirect monetization, and then collaborative monetization. All right. And again, this is the exact reason why I created the launch, host, and grow methodology, because what you will learn in that program is how to structure your podcast around your business model, where every episode, every call to action becomes your growth system. Okay. So this is the growth pillar. And it's not about chasing sponsors or ads, it's about creating consistent automated flow from your podcast. All right. So that is one of the ways that I teach people. Now, there are a lot of ways to make money with your podcast, but that's how I teach people to make money with their podcast. Okay, it's an ecosystem: launch, host, and grow. All right. So the second question was submitted. The person said, "I have a podcast and a baby. How do I streamline content and stay motivated?" So the first thing I want to say about that is that congratulations. I want to celebrate whoever sent this question because that's the most real question I've seen in a long time. Okay. Now, I cannot relate to having children or having a baby. However, that is a very real question. How do I stay motivated? How do I streamline? Okay. Because that's going to be essential to helping you prioritize what you do in terms of your podcasting. A lot of people don't realize that there are a lot of moving parts with podcasting, right? Not to mention running a business and tying it to your business. Okay, so I celebrate you, whoever sent that question, and thank you for being so transparent. Because if you have a business to run and a baby to raise and a dream to build, and you're still showing up, then that deserves some applause. So here's what I would tell you, and I would tell to any clients that, or, people who are listening to this episode, or if you're on the live and you're watching this live, is to honor your season. Okay. Your season does not determine your success, it determines your strategy. Let that sink in. Maybe right now you can't record weekly, and that's okay. That's okay. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do the right things consistently. Okay? It's about building at your own pace. Okay? At your own pace, right? So honor your season. Okay? We all, life is lifing. Okay? And we all have different seasons, right? If you look in the book of Ecclesiastes, it talks about seasons. There's a time and a season for everything under the sun, right? And so everybody has a season. So you're not behind. You're just building at your own pace. So honor your season. Okay. So now I want to talk a little bit about how to make podcasting fit your life. Okay. With systems and, organizing yourself and, having priorities, prioritizing the things that you have to do. So here's a workflow that you can literally steal from me right now. It's the one that I use. It's the one that I teach my clients. I hope you're ready. By the way, I hope you're taking notes if you are, listening to this or watching this right now. Record, okay? Upload, edit, schedule, promote. That's 5. Record. Let me use the right fingers here, okay? Record, upload, edit, schedule, promote. Okay? So you may say, all right, record. What do I record on? Okay? So you want to record and upload to Riverside. Now, I'm going to be talking about the platforms that I use specifically. Okay? And so in recording or uploading, maybe you record on Google Meet or maybe you record on Zoom. So, but I would say use one platform, and that would be Riverside. Okay. Even your editing, And if you add music or what have you, do that on Riverside. Schedule via Riverside. Okay, so you're using, there's actually three platforms that you will want to use. Okay, so Riverside, and I should have said this at first, but I didn't. Riverside to Spotify, and then you can promote via your email or your social. Now you all have social, probably, social platforms. We're talking LinkedIn or any of the other platforms, Facebook, TikTok, what have you. You can do that, promote your podcast via the socials. Okay. But I would also recommend you pull people off of the socials and pull them into your email. Okay, now there are so many platforms as far as email. My top one I recommend is SendFox. Another one I would recommend is Octopus, Email Octopus. Okay, Email Octopus. And SendFox is not free, but Email Octopus is. Now there's MailChimp. There's all kinds of email platforms that you can use, right? But those are the three, platforms. Riverside, okay, Spotify. So Spotify is your platform that you're going to use to host your website, and I'm not your website, your podcast, because Riverside and Spotify have a partnership. So when you are inside of Riverside, it's a matter of the click of a button to push it to Spotify and then add your other uh, content pieces like your show notes and your titles and all that kind of stuff, right? So, but here's some key tips. Batch record. You want to dedicate 1 or 2 days a month to record several episodes at once. Okay. Then another thing you can do, repurpose everything. Turn one episode into an article, email, blog, social media clips, right? um, I turn my training into episodes. So what's going to happen is, if you're watching this live right now, this is actually going to be turned into a podcast episode and it'll air next week. Okay. So if you missed it, if you didn't come live and you are on my email list or you are on my, you are subscribed to my, um, podcast, then whatever podcast platform you use or whatever platform you use for listening to podcasts, it'll be published next week. So my point is, when you systemize your podcast, you free up your mental space, and that's where your creativity returns. I don't know about you. So like for me, I have so much creativity when I have the capacity and the mental space cleared up. And I'm not thinking about, okay, well, what do I have to do? And, I'm just all over the place and I just have a lot of, irons in the fire, right? So, but when you systemize your podcast, you free up your mental space and capacity. And that's when creativity can really explode. All right. So now that is streamlining with systems. Okay, getting organized and systemized with these pillars. All right. um Lastly, motivation was the other thing that the person said. How do I stay motivation? Because the thing is, motivation is fleeting. Okay, but systems create momentum, and when you're organized, you remove the friction, because friction is what kills the motivation. If you got a lot of friction, in your life and you can't seem to move forward or what have you, then that's going to kill your motivation. So instead of waiting to feel inspired, try to build a routine that helps you stay consistent. Remember your why, like why you got started with this podcast. Why does your message matter? Why does your story deserve to be heard? That's going to keep you motivated, right? That's going to keep you motivated, and when you remember your why, is going to propel that momentum. You're going to have some momentum because you have some capacity, because you've created some systems, and now you have created the space for all of that. So I hope all of that makes sense. So let me just kind of recap here. So we tackled two powerful questions today. How do I make money from a podcast? And so I just shared that with you, right? We talked about the three monetization strategies. And how do I streamline my content and stay motivated? Okay. And so what I hope with that you will take away from this particular talk or episode or training, whatever you want to call it, is that profit and peace can coexist. Profit and peace can coexist. You can run a podcast that grows your business and fits your life. You just need the right systems, the right structure, and the right strategy. So, if you are ready to take this to the next level, turn your podcast into a lead generation or lead generating machine, and finally stop winging it, then I invite you to a complimentary strategy call. I will put the link in the show notes, in the description, so that you can book your strategy call. And on the call, what we will do is we will look at where you are now and where you're trying to go and how to fill in that gap. You will leave the call with a strategy, okay? Your systems or your workflow, and how to connect your podcast directly to your revenue goals, whatever that is, we want to fill in the gap, okay? So, um, yeah. So book a strategy call with me. It's a 30-minute strategy call. And when you click on the link, there'll be some questions that will help me to better prepare for the call. So don't, get stuck and say, well, I don't want to complete all these questions. It's not that many questions, but it does help me be prepared for our call. All right. So book that call with me, and I would love to help you in your endeavors. So I want you to remember this: organization opens the pipeline for creativity. And when your systems flow, your message grows. Okay? So I want to thank you for being here with me, for showing up for your dream, for letting me be part of your podcasting journey. And so hopefully this was helpful for you. I would love to hear from you, and I always encourage you to stay organized, stay inspired, and just keep shining your light through the mic. All right? All right. So listen, thank you for joining me today. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you on the next episode.